Over the last few months, on this programme, we've talked about the Trojan Horse scandals. This was the accusation that some schools in Birmingham had been involved in indoctrinating children in some ways, and a number of schools were investigated by the government in regards to that. And it was thought that Islamist groups were trying to push an agenda within some of these schools. Well, as a result, the government has introduced a number of things that they want schools to implement to make sure that children are brought up in the best environment. And one of the things came about last week in which the Department for Education said that independent schools need to actively promote British values. And they've put together a consultation paper in which they say that any schools that where girls are disadvantaged on grounds of gender or failure to address homophobia or where prejudice against other faiths is encouraged or not adequately challenged, these are issues where schools could face action by the government if these things are seen to be happening. Well, that's the background to the story. Well, today we've heard that the Christian Institute, the Christian charity, is taking legal action against the government over this. It wants a judicial review over the plans that the government is bringing in, and it says that the government's overreacted and says that some of the things that have been proposed could cause problems for Christian independent schools. So I want to find out more about this, and I've got the number here for the Chief Executive of the Christian Institute. That's Colin Hart. So I wonder if we can grab a quick word with him.
Sure, let's try his line now.
Hello, Colin Hart speaking.
Oh, hi there, Colin. This is Marcus calling from Premier Christian Radio.
Oh, hello.
Colin, I'm live on our News Hour programme, and we've just been discussing this whole situation with the Trojan Horse scandal and your concerns for independent schools across the country. Now, I understand that you've written to the government on this. You've accused it of overreacting on this problem. Just tell us why you're taking this action.
Well, the government has launched proposed new regulations during the school summer holidays, and in fact it's almost closed. But the problem is what it's doing is allowing schools to be sued over the content of lessons. So if you have a history teacher and he teaches history, you may or may not agree with it, but one thing you can't do is sue the school over the way in which history is taught or maths is taught or whatever subject there is, because the law excludes discrimination from the content of the curriculum. But that's to change for independent schools, free schools and academies. So they will be under a legal duty to actively promote 9 sets of rights under the Equality Act. And it really will be very, very complicated because schools deal with controversial issues all the time across the whole curriculum, and teachers have freedom to be professional without thinking they're going to be sued for what they've taught. And schools can have an ethos, they can have a religious ethos, and that's respected and defended in the law, but that will all change under these regulations. So
give us an example then of a concern that you might have for an independent school that goes about teaching in a certain way.
Well, suppose you have you might have a Jewish school. Now, under the government's plans, it says that really you should be taking kids around places of worship. So a Jewish school could say, well, we don't want to take pupils to the local mosque. We don't think that's part of our ethos. They're entitled to do that at the moment, but they could be marked down by Ofsted for not doing it under these plans. You could have a school, say a church academy, which celebrates Christmas and Easter, and might be criticised for not celebrating Eid or Diwali or some other religious festival to the same extent or in the same way. So the real concern is its political correctness gone mad, and it's a complete overreaction to what went wrong in Birmingham, which was really a managerial issue, I think.
Well, Colin, we've got a statement here from the Department for Education, so let me just read it to you. It says, the independent school standards are designed to ensure every school prepares children for life in modern Britain. We make no apology for demanding high standards and the promotion of tolerance and respect of all faiths and cultures. It is simply untrue to say that the proposed changes, which received 1,400 responses in the last 6 weeks, would prevent teachers using gender-specific terms or require schools to downgrade Christian festivals. We have received a letter from the Christian Institute's legal representatives and are considering our response. What do you say then to that statement, Colin?
Well, the heads are worried. The professional bodies representing head teachers are actually very concerned about this, and they put out a statement. So it's not just us. We are very concerned about the ethos of schools. Now, we, of course, agree that pupils should be respected, whatever their background. But what the government seems to be confused about is respect for people is different than respecting what people believe. I don't actually respect the beliefs of ISIS terrorists who are chopping people's heads off for not converting to their particular brand of Islam. I don't respect that belief. And where we disagree with people, you can disagree and still respect them as people, though that's difficult, I must admit, if they're a terrorist. But there is this difference between respecting people as people and respecting what they believe. So you might have a Muslim school might say, well, Islam is true and every other religion is false, and they're free to do that at the moment. Or a Christian school might do the same thing. They might say, well, Jesus is the only way to salvation. They're free to do that at the moment, but without being challenged. And the danger is of these regulations is this confusion about what the word tolerance and prejudice means. I mean, if you are prejudiced, you prejudge an issue. So I believe that Jesus is the only way to salvation. So I'm prejudging that issue. And there's the danger about the words tolerance and prejudice, and all of this could be very, very confused, and we could end up being less tolerant. And that's what I fear.
Colin, just want to clarify something. Are you suggesting that if a school goes about teaching or goes about explaining its views that they believe that Jesus is the only way to get to heaven, that they could be sued? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, I am. If they are in this category of independent schools or academies or free schools, and quite a number of them, thousands of them, will have a Christian ethos. And at the moment, that's totally protected in the law, but that is put in jeopardy by these regulations, and that's really what concerns me.
I guess that what a lot of people would say is that schools are there to teach children anyway, and these things, sort of kind of statements about faith, shouldn't necessarily come into the classroom anyway, and should be kept an aside. Do you agree with that? Well,
I just want schools to have the freedoms that they've already had, and we've been very good at respecting people's beliefs. And church schools are incredibly popular. A quarter of all pupils attend a church school. And there are also schools of other faiths as well. And so we extend the freedoms to them. And we're very good at respecting people's beliefs. And I just want that to continue. And I don't think we should be driving a coach and horses through the religious ethos of a school.
Just finally, then, you're looking to take bring about a judicial review. What are you hoping to achieve?
What we're hoping to achieve is to get the government to think again. Instead of rushing this through in 6 weeks, to give a few more months for schools to really give their input into what the government is proposing. Because I think the more schools get the opportunity to look at this, rather than planning this in the middle of summer holidays, the more the government will get real and realise that they've got a very damaging proposal.
Okay, Colin, I need to stop there, but thank you for your time on the News Hour today. Really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's Colin Hart, Chief Executive of the Christian Institute, talking about some plans by the government to change laws following the Trojan Horse scandal within Birmingham schools.